Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Teardown Sessions from CrowdSupply. I'm your host, Helen Lee, and today we've got a very exciting guest, the delightful Straithe from Great Scott Gadgets. But before I bring you on, let's take a look at what has been happening in the world of CrowdSupply. Here we go. So ending soon in CrowdSupply in the next 5 days is the Home Assistant Amber, which is a fantastic piece of open hardware designed to help you automate your home. I'm a big fan of this one. I have actually personally backed this one as well. Going on at the moment, we've also got Kraken SDR, which has just launched and raised a whopping 200K already for their phase coherent software defined radio. Very popular campaign at the moment. New also, we have Chavi, which is an open source fingerprint sensor, which has got NFC and it's now powered by USB-C as well. It's a pretty cool little device. So if you're looking for fingerprint-based authentication for your open hardware project, check that out. Coming soon on CrowdSupply, one of my favorite makers on Twitter, Darian Johnson, he's got a fantastic new project out called Mute, which is an IoT display using a really interesting type of memory and pixel screen technology. So you should definitely check that out, sign up for updates, that'll be coming out soon. Also coming soon from CrowdSupply is the latest in the Inkplate family. Now, for those of you that don't know, Inkplate is a range of e-paper displays, and they're super cool because they're actually made from recycled Kindle screens. This is the latest in their range, and it's a color one, so that's quite fun. I've not actually played with color e-paper before, so I'm pretty interested to see how that turns out. As ever, if you want to stay up to date with our latest updates, our latest competitions and so on, you can sign up to our newsletter. We've got join over. We've got about 60,000 people on our newsletter now, which is quite impressive, I think. So if you want to be one of them, you can subscribe to our newsletter and get weekly updates. We will never sell your data. We would never. And finally, I wanted to give a shout out, as always, to the Field Report program. So if you're out there and you are making really cool stuff with stuff that you have bought from a campaign on CrowdSupply, if you send us a few pictures and sentences of you using your devices out in the wild, we will publish them, give you a little bit of fame, and we will also give you a $25 card to be used on our CrowdSupply site. So do share your hacks with us if you'd like to. Okay, so that's what's going on at CrowdSupply this week. Let's take that off of the screen. Before I bring Straithe on, there is one more thing I wanted to share with you. So we have started doing a random mystery hardware giveaway every week on our CrowdSupply Teardown Session live stream. This is a box of cool hardware and stickers and swag. I'm quite excited about the stuff in this box so far today. As always, so the postman just came. As always, if you comment on the stream and on nearest to the timestamp that I've written down on this piece of paper, you will win this box of mystery hardware. So that's all you have to do is comment and like. You don't have to like actually, but I would like you to like and subscribe because we do these every week now. All right, so please. While the stream is going, we love to hear your comments. We love to hear your questions. It helps us feel like we're not in boxes staring into our laptops, that we're actually hanging out with people. So please, please, please say hi and comment. Who knows, you might win a box of fun hardware and you'll certainly make us feel better about ourselves. So without further ado, let's introduce today's guest, the delightful Straithe from Great Scott Gadgets. Let's add her into the stream there. Hiya, Straithe. Let's put your let's put the name underneath you as well. Look at that. How are you doing, Straithe? Hi. So nice to see you.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell our lovely viewers a little bit about yourself, Straithe?
Yeah. So right now I am the community manager, technical support specialist, webmaster, and documentation matron of Great Scott Gadgets. So I'm wearing all of the hats. Yeah, and then outside of work, I mainly play video games. So I'm always on the
Nice.
computer, always like in the tech. It's fun.
Nice. And what are you playing right now? What are your go-tos?
I recently introduced one of my partners to Diablo 3, so we've been playing every night.
Oh, wow. Diablo 3. I haven't played Diablo. Well, I played the original Diablo on a PC like 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's cool. I didn't know you were a gamer. Me too. Yeah, cool. All right. So, tell us about Great Scott Gadgets as well. What is Great Scott Gadgets for those amongst us who've never heard of them?
Yeah, so Great Scott Gadgets is a company focused on putting tools into the hands of innovative people. So whether it's, all of the software libraries we made, the open source hardware we made, we love getting things into people's hands. And everything we do is rooted in open source, open access, open hardware. Like we put as much of our even internal conversations as we can on our GitHub. We're just a very open company dedicated to making things.
That's really awesome. And one of the reasons I've got Straithe on these sessions today is that recently Great Scott Gadgets and Straithe and the team over there, they ran a campaign with us, the Luna campaign, which was very successful and really cool. But I'd like to talk about that. But before I do, let's have a little look at who's joining us here in the chat. So the first person to say hi to us was Brian. Hello, Brian.
Hi,
Brian
Brian.
says that Brian is joining us from the East Coast on Pennsylvania. Hello, I'm on the West Coast. It's rainy today in Portland. Where are you based? Straithe, what part of the world? East Coast, West Coast, in between?
I recently moved to Canada, so I'm living in
Oh,
Ontario right now.
the North Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. And here we have Shane saying hi. So Shane saying hi to us and specifically saying hi to Brian from Twitter. And Shane is joining us from East Coast, Virginia. Virginia, fantastic. Okay, so we also have the delightful Geekmon Project who's joined us. Hello, it's so nice to see you. I always love it when you drop by. Such amazing projects. Actually, Geek Mom, you'll be excited about our next guest. We're going to have PixelBlaze on next week. So Ben Hank from PixelBlaze. Is that next week or is that the week after? Soon, anyway. I'll double check that and let you know before the end of the show. We've also got Taki B, who's joined us. Hello, Taki. Nice to see you. We've got Axel Roast from Amsterdam joining us. Amazing. Nice to have a European joining us here. We've got Alexenyenko saying here, we are here alone together. But it's true, we are all sitting here on our computers at home or in the office alone together. So it's nice to be together. And we've got Jeff Maxwell saying hi all from Hillsborough. Nice, hello. And then Paul Mellon saying hi, how's Nick? Well, there we are. Okay, look at this as a nice big group of people saying nice things to us from East Coast, West Coast, and Europe. So that's lovely. Hello, everybody. All right, now we've said hello to the people who've piped up in chat. Let's move on to talking about the Luna. So for people who don't know about the Luna campaign, do you want to tell them a little bit about what the Luna is?
Yeah, so I have an in-case and out-of-case Luna here with me. Hopefully my camera will focus, but yeah, so it's a fairly small device. Like I have tiny hands and it is smaller than my palm. It's easy to take with you anywhere. And like Luna, I carried this thing in the case around because I wanted to see like the weight and how it felt. And I brought this into the kitchen with me and like got gravy on it, got wine on it. Like the case is so strong. But what Luna is, it's an all-in-one tool for like building, hacking, and analyzing USB. And if I pull up the outer case one again, like it features an FPGA right in the middle. So like that's a big part of it too, is I'm learning so much about using FPGAs and gateware and firmware and all of that, trying to develop for it. So it's a neat project that really we're hoping will make USB a lot more accessible so people can have fun actually exploring their USB devices and seeing what they're sending and how.
That's really awesome. I was trying to bring up, here we are. I'm going to bring up the web page as well. Here we are, add to stream. There we are, look at that. That's what I was trying to do. So this is the Luna campaign page. As you can see, it did pretty great, actually. It did 281K. And there's all sorts of great stuff here. Hackster saying nice things about it, Geeky Gadget saying nice things about it. So if you want to know more about Luna, you can find a lot of the information here on this. Do you know what? I'm just going to copy and paste this and put it in the, I can put it on, I can even do a marquee. Look at this.
Nice.
Look at that. I'm actually going to create. I'm going to add this one instead. Here we are. That's a better one. Look at that. We're going to go marquee. Marquee yeah. Or Great Scott Gadgets. All right, let's stop sharing my screen because this is an ancient MacBook and
I love it.
It's gonna take off in a minute. All right, great. We can put our faces back on. Yeah, isn't that nice?
Yep.
So we've got a question here saying, Straithe, when is it available for purchase, general purchase, and the price points of Luna? So because the price during the campaign and the price afterwards, is that different?
Yeah, so there was, I think, about a $50 price increase after the campaign finished. So the Luna in a case is about $200, and the Luna without a case is about $150.
Nice.
But I definitely recommend the case. Like, I've dropped it so many times and it still works. So,
was it made out of?
It is milled aluminum. So,
nice.
Yeah, and one of our crowd supply updates, the enclosure details one, actually shows like the inside of it and some of the process and talks about like the details of that case too. So, but as for when it's available for purchase, right now we're hoping in May, but of course, you know, we have global supply chain issues. So
yeah.
Hopefully we can maintain that, and you know, we're working really closely with our suppliers and manufacturers to make sure we can get all those parts and we'll stay on track. Yeah. But everything's constantly in fluctuations, so we'll keep everyone updated through that crowd supply page.
It's true, everyone does. And we've got a comment here from Brian saying, super excited for the USB function. Lots of people are. And it's complementing the GreatFET nicely. Excited for the bus sniffing capability, as are we all. Now, there's something that interesting in that comment that I wanted to pick up on. So that it's complementing the GreatFET nicely. So for those of you that don't know, Great Scott Gadgets is not just about Luna. Luna is latest in a long line of projects. It's just their first one that they've done with crowd supply. I wonder if you might tell us a little bit about the other things that you've got, the ones that are big for you, and the ones that I know that you've got a prototype on your desk that I'm dying for you to show off and learn a little bit more about as well.
Yeah. So the thing we're probably most known for is the HackRF. And I always keep one on my desk because I'm constantly, like I said, I'm the technical support specialist, so I'm constantly dealing and helping people with their issues. So I always have it on my desk so I can replicate issues and, you know, respond to those as quickly as I can. Of course, I've got, you know, the Luna in the case, the Luna not in a case, and actually I'm just going to get up and grab a box just off screen.
Yeah, go for it.
Let's see if I can get it past my lighting. There we go. I've got my work box because I've also got an IKEA background like you, just off to the side.
Yeah, this is the conference room at the Crowd Supply office that I've repurposed into my live streaming box. I was doing it at my workshop before, and now I'm in the office, which is much nicer. So yeah, go on.
We've also got the GreatFET, which comes in these like nice little static bags. But that also has, you know, USB pass-through, and it's really good for, you know, playing with USB too. But my favorite part about the GreatFET is these additional headers. So actually on my GitHub, I created a GreatFET neighbor, which is just another board, same shape as a GreatFET that you can plug on. And it just works. Like I could do hardware without understanding hardware. And I made a neighbor in a night, plugged it in, and it immediately worked because it's just all Python. So it's kind of like a hardware platform for people who only do software.
What's your GitHub handle, Straithe?
It's Straithe.
Oh, easy.
Same thing. Yep. Good thing about having a unique handle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the neighbor I made was just the biggest LED I could find. It was like this big from Adafruit, and it's just like big LED in the middle of a board, and so I could wear it as a badge because there's also a GreatFET neighbor that's just a LiPo battery. So I stacked the LiPo battery, and then I stacked the LED on top, and so it's red, yellow, green LED. So I could say whether I wanted to talk to people, not talk to people.
That's cute.
Yeah, so that's cool. And my favorite thing about the GreatFET is the wiggler. It's specifically.
Hang on. I've got to spotlight you for this one. I've got to take a closer look at this wiggler.
Okay, so
I love it.
It's just a little cutout PCB, kind of in like the shape of a little worm, and the point is just to like lever your boards off. So if you had a neighbor on top, you can actually just get your wiggler like underneath the edge and lever it up. So each GreatFET comes with a wiggler, and it's just, yeah, so cute, and I love it.
That is such a clever idea. I also love it. I now want my own PCB wiggler. Well, I suppose it's open source hardware, so I can probably just go to your site and download it and just print yours. You've done all the hard work. So
Exactly.
That's one of the things I really wanted to do a deep dive with you today is to talk about community. Because I know that amongst many of your many hats, one of the hats that you wear is community manager for the hardware hackers who use your devices. And I think that aspect of running an open source hardware company can often be really overlooked. And I'd really like to learn from you and share our knowledge for the greater community, like how to build that community, how to get people who are invested in you as a company, not so just like those who will buy your product, but also those types of people who might contribute perhaps or support you in other ways, and just like, because I think open source hardware is very much a community endeavor, and all the most successful people that I know in open source hardware and all the most successful companies I know are really, really great at community and really understand the needs of the open hardware community intimately. So I was hoping you might be able to share some insights on how Great Scott Gadgets tackles that, what you've done in the past, what you're doing now, like how you're using social media, that kind of thing. Because I think that's something that people don't necessarily understand is a huge part. It's not just inventing something, right? It's telling people that it exists, and it's also convincing those people that they should be excited about it and maybe contribute as well. So,
yeah. So before I joined Great Scott Gadgets, like how I learned about the company was just going to hacker conferences, and Michael Osman and Dominic Spill and other people loosely related to the company would be presenting at conferences, and I would see them at conference after conference after conference, and it was, great. I got to see, what the company did, cool things you could do with the hardware, and I think that's sort of where this all starts, is you need to have a good product that people find useful, and you have to demonstrate that usefulness. And I think, that's one thing Great Scott Gadgets did well before I joined. But things like social media, no one was really excited about it at the company. And it's almost impossible to get me off Twitter, so it was a good fit. So yeah, once I joined the company, I'd kind of been helping out Great Scott Gadgets for a few years, just obviously talking to all the team members quite a bit, and trying to participate where I could and help out at conferences and whatnot. But after joining, the biggest thing and the first thing I did was trying to support the people on GitHub. Yeah, so a lot of that was, when you have a small open source hardware company, that right now we have 7 people for over 65 software repositories. I think we have, like 12, 13 products. That's not a lot of people for how much we have out there. So GitHub was our number one step. And since since I joined, like, we started tagging issues. That was my first big project, was tagging issues to see what help was needed. So technical support, documentation, or if it was just a question, or if it's a bug, to help us prioritize what we were doing with those issues. And since I joined, we've gone down from 80 open technical support issues to 20. So,
Wow.
and each month we always get more and more, but we're keeping it about at 20. So that's been a lot of work. Is I've been dedicated to finding those technical support issues, answering as soon as I can, because that's one thing open source projects have a lot of trouble with, is responding in a timely manner. But that's because we're working on the hardware, we're working on the software. So yeah, and
Yeah,
then
that's difficult. I mean, I have got a follow-up question, but I wanted to say that the timestamp for commenting has now passed, which was 12:20. So the person who commented at 12:20, in fact, so there's not even the nearest one, was Shane. Shane, who said the GreatFET will also connect to Opera Cake. So Shane, you have won this box of hardware goodies from us at CrowdSupply. There's various stickers. There is a inside you have a Hestia Pi deluxe kit. So you've got a deluxe version of the Hestia Pi, which is environmental monitoring, in a nice case there. So that belongs to you now, along with a whole bunch of stickers, and also a hat that I found, which has got the Mauser logo on it. So, so Shane, well done! Congratulations on winning this random Mauser hat and the Hestia Pi. If you want to drop me a DM on the CrowdSupply Twitter with your address, I will sort you out with that in the next couple of days. All right, so well done. Thank you. Ooh, yay, shiny box. You get the box too, which is very exciting. Cool lunchbox. Okay. All right, there we go. Thank you. Thank you, Shane. So we had a couple of comments here. We had lots of people saying that the little wiggler was cute. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. I fully agree, Jacob. My thoughts exactly. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Drew Festini also in the house saying the wiggler is a great idea and that you could use it for the Beaglebone capes too, which you absolutely could. And Jacob there saying you got to take care of your pins is true. So lots of love for the wiggler in the comments section there. Unsurprisingly, it's a delightful PCB. So yeah, what I heard from you there when we were talking just now about the community side of things is that your initial community was very much built up by attendance at conferences and hackathons and really being embedded actually in the community. What kind of conferences, and I know obviously the pandemic has killed everything, but I was curious to know, partially because I just want to talk about cons for a bit, so I can live my fantasy that we still live in a world where these things happen. But what kind of cons and hacker conferences are really on your radar, both you as a person and as Great Scott Gadget?
I think the overlap between those two is a circle. So, but I miss DEF CON. Just because, it's seeing so many people I miss all at the same time. I miss CCC.
Oh my God, I miss CCC so much.
That one, just the blend of art and hacking and community, and the fact that it's all in one space dedicated to the community. Like, there's no outside people. It's just the people who are there for the thing. That's really nice. The hacker camps are always great because of the costumes, again, the art, the ingenuity.
Yeah.
For example, Tour Camp is one of our favorites. A couple years ago.
I've not been to Tour Camp yet.
Yeah, Great Scott Gadgets a couple years ago did the badge for it, which was
cool.
actually a lid for a jar that you could turn into a jar of fireflies with our PCB badge. And we also made individual size creme brulees for everyone.
What?
Yeah. So it's like 300 individual creme brulees, and then the lid, once you eat the creme brulee and cleaned out the jar, you could actually put the badge in. That's up on our website as well. So, that's cool. I love the camps for that reason. We usually try and also put a lot of our effort into the community that way by creating the cool badges. And the badge itself was like a little disc, right? But it was like an intro to soldering. It was super easy to solder. It was where I soldered for the first time, and like
Oh, wow.
it was great.
Got some love here for the badge thing. Drew saying, I love the Firefly Tour Camp badge, though sadly I didn't make it there. And then Brian, Brian went to DEF CON this year. DEF CON was nice, not the same with everyone. I'm assuming it's without everybody. I've actually not been to DEF CON yet. I've only moved here in November. It's the US in November last year, and I was very, very much a Euro hacker. So do all the Congress CCC ones and the EMFs and the the Netherlands ones. But I've actually not been to DEF CON. So I'm excited to go next year.
And we've also got one I'm excited for.
EMF is so fun. It's so cute. It's really British. It's quite well behaved. I mean, obviously, it's still hacker shenanigans. But camp, we met at camp, didn't we? Was that not the CCC camp? I think we met in person for the first time.
I think so. Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, I'm always banging on about it. Congress is the annual winter Euro hacker big event, and it's super fun. And every 4 years they have camp, which is the summertime version where you can play around on boats and learn about hacking. It's great fun. Yeah, so here we are. Yeah, of course, memories from CCC. Hello, Benjamin. Greetings from Brussels. Hello. Timon's turned up as well. Hello, Timon, who also I met at CCC. So, I mean, I think I'm totally in agreement with you that one of the best things you can do is just go to the cons and just meet the people and get involved and like make badges and do the soldering contests. And people do, you get to know everybody through that. I think I fully agree. But then the next thing that you said that you used to build community, I was kind of, to be honest with you, I was expecting to hear a little bit more about, like a newsletter or social media or something, but you went straight in there with, nope, it's just answering issues. We just started tackling GitHub. You go to cons and then you start tackling GitHub. I think that's some really nice advice there. It's just like, yeah.
Well, like one of your questions earlier, like how do you get people to contribute? And showing traction on GitHub is huge. Like you have to get the issues down and make people feel like they're supported and part of the community. And you have to get the PRs down so people know that when they contribute, we care and we appreciate their contributions. We're still working on that one. We're still a little slow on the PRs, but it's something that I'm training to do, is how to review PRs better. I had known about Great Scott Gadget's projects and products before joining the company, but I still have so much to learn with everything. So, taking in a PR for me is too tough still. So it's the other people in the company that are handling those. But of course, they're doing the hardware and software and everything else too. So I'm doing what I can. But yeah, we started with GitHub. And of course, Twitter, because I'm always on Twitter. So if you tweet to Great Scott Gadgets, I'm there. I only sleep 2 hours a day anyway, so I'm always retweeting. But
you only sleep 2 hours a day? Did I just hear that right?
Oh, I have a terrible sleep schedule.
I
sleep 2 or 3 hours at night, maybe a nap or 2 during the day.
Oh my goodness, I think I'd murder somebody if I didn't get at least 7 hours on the reg. So major props to you.
Yeah, there are people that message me at 4 a.m. with concerns, because I'm always available. I also spend a lot of time in our Discord, making sure that the community is healthy. It is really, it takes a lot of emotional strength to make sure your community is healthy, because when toxic people do come in and are there and you need to ask them to leave, it can be a tough situation.
Has that happened to you? Has that happened? If you had to remove people from the community, what did you do? How did you tackle that? How did you handle that?
Yeah, it's been hard. There were a couple people that, we have a code of conduct in our Discord. We follow it all across Great Scott Gadgets. I need to post it in more places, and I'm working on that now. But it is in our Discord, and you have to agree to it before you join. And there are just some people that were incredibly not kind, had all the isms like sexism, racism, all of that. And we do not stand for that at this company. We are very much here to support people. And if you can't, be a good person, we don't want you. So, you know, I try and give people warnings because I want them, like, I would rather spend time to help people understand why maybe what they're saying isn't okay, and put the effort into making the community better. But when people are just repeatedly toxic after warnings, you have to cut them out to protect everyone else and to make sure it's a space that other people want to be in.
It's true. It's so true, actually. I mean, I know a lot of people have really struggled with that, and particularly hackerspaces that I know have really struggled with that. And you know, I understand the instinct that you don't want to kick people out, right? You want them to get better, and you want them to be like welcoming to other people. But at a certain point, I think you have to realize that by letting that person stay in your community, you are actively pushing out other people. So it's just, you know, they might be silent about it and leave, but people do leave and they don't come back because of poor behavior. So I think you're right. You do need to tackle it. Give people good chances. Give people, you know, opportunities for learning. But at the end of the day, if people are behaving really, really badly, it's not just awkward. It's actively going to reduce your community, and probably from people who are, you know, more vulnerable. So, you know, it's essentially letting the bully win if you don't kick them out eventually. But it's a hard thing to do. It's a really hard thing to do. Nobody likes doing it. But yeah, really interesting to hear your perspective on that one. And I was also hoping, so you're a Twitter natural, you know, you're a native Twitterer, but there's quite a lot of people, a lot of creators that come on board who don't even, you know, they've never even had a Twitter account. They struggle to be able. So I'd be really interested to hear from you what it is that you think Twitter brings, like what the value of Twitter, like the kind of people that you can talk to on Twitter, and also, you know, like guidance, ways, like, you know, there's so much etiquette around Twitter that you only kind of like really know when you've been on there for a bit of time. So I wonder if you might share Straithe's top Twitter tips, but also, you know, why you're on there in the first place, what it brings to you.
Sure. So I joined Twitter when I joined the hacker community, because I wanted to talk to people, and people go by handles, and they usually use the same handles on Twitter as they do in real life. And so it was just an opportunity to connect with people. And then, you know, you get to see what is happening in other people's lives. You get to see great makers. And my number one tip is, like, congratulate people. Just be kind. And when somebody does something cool, give them a compliment. You will never make enemies by giving people doing cool things compliments. And that's something I try and do at Great Scott Gadgets, and something I try to do personally is, you know, if somebody gets a raise, congratulations. If somebody makes a cool project, congratulations. I like X specific thing about it. Like, give people those personalized compliments that make them happy.
I think that's an excellent point. I think a lot of people think about Twitter as a way to get their message out. You know, it's like just a broadcast, a one-way broadcast. Like, look at this new gadget, look at this thing that we've made, look at, you know, all about us. But I think what you're saying is start the other way around. You should start by contributing to other people, form connections, congratulate people on a new piece of technology, say, I love this, this is great. That's how you build community. It's more it's not a broadcast tool, it's a conversation tool. And I think that's something that people don't necessarily understand about Twitter. So good point.
And that's the second thing. It is like treating everyone who you talk to as a person. Like, there are so many people that are like, oh, I like what this person did, but you're replying to their Twitter. Like, just talk to them. Don't talk about them in the third person. Like, it's like somebody being in the circle with you, showing their cool thing, and you talk to the person beside you instead of the person. So, like, just talk to the people you want to talk to. Like, I love when people DM me and they're like, hey, I would love to meet you at a conference sometime. I'm like, sure, let's do it. Let's organize this. I want new friends. Let's have a good time. So approach people, like, and talk to them directly. It really helps.
Yeah, I fully agree, and that's really nice. We've got some nice tips coming in from the viewers as well. We've got Geek Mom Project here who said that Maker Twitter is, and like much of Twitter, very supportive. I would agree very much with you there. And I've connected with so many people over shared interest in projects. links, which is exactly what you were saying, right? Yeah. So it's an easy way to help others find your work and to see other people's work. Absolutely. I fully agree with you. Couldn't agree with you more. She goes on to say that she uses Twitter as an index much of the time. Interesting blog posts and articles are hard to find, but posting a Twitter link makes them discoverable. So it is a great way to share things. Yeah, absolutely. And then Timon's piped up saying that Maker Twitter is generally great. I agree. Very friendly community there. And Brian says that he's new to Twitter for 2021, and it's been great here to reach out to you all. Ditto Geekman Projects and Timon School. And I think that's one thing, that if you are new to making and hacking, it is a really great way to connect with people. And I think people are pretty welcoming. I've certainly felt very welcomed on Twitter over the years. With regard to the conversation that we were having earlier about having to boot people from your community for the overall health of the community, we've got a comment here from Timon saying that it's a snowball effect too. When people start leaving, it kind of invites more abusive people to take their place eventually. It's a constant fight for your community. So yeah, if you don't apply those pruning shears sometimes and let people who are very unwelcoming into your community, then it can have a negative effect, not just on the people already there, but people leave and worse people take their place. So I fully agree with you there, Timon. It's something that you need to keep an eye on. And Shane, who the winner of our today's Teardown box, Shane piped up again and saying that he is new to Twitter as well. So you should say hi and we'll all follow you back. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I fully agree with everything that you've just said about Twitter. In terms of like content and putting out content, if you've got somebody who is making a project and they want to be able to connect with people, so outside of talking to other people like they're actual human beings and interacting with their projects, have you got any advice for how often to post, what kind of content to post? You know, what are your tips for figuring out what it is, aside from replying to other people, that you want to share with your audience?
Yeah, pictures are huge. Whenever you can add a picture that is relevant to what you're trying to say, add it. And that's not just for Twitter, that is also for blog posts, that's on your website. Like, people engage with imagery, especially because we do have such a diverse community. And some people have reading issues. Like, there are some people with dyslexia. There are some people, there's different languages that come across too. So by having pictures, you can actually, go across languages. You can go across different disabilities. Like, there's so many different options you have when you post pictures. And same thing, even, we do have a lot of blind people in our community too. So when you post a picture, do make sure to post alt text, and always write your own alt text when you can.
Yeah, and for those people that don't know, can you explain what alt text is?
Alt text is alternative text that can be read by screen readers for blind people. So when they can't see the picture because they're blind, or they may not be able to see it well enough, the alt text will actually read out what is there. So you can give the context or the joke without excluding people.
Exactly. Yeah. There is really good to do. I just wish TweetDeck would allow you to do alt text. So when you're scheduling something, but yeah. So not only are pictures a really great way to get people engaged with your content, they're also a way to reach a broader range of people. But also, even on top of those two already great reasons to use lots of images in your video, the algorithm definitely promotes things with tweets with original content in them. So if it's a video or a photograph, you're probably going to get a bit more promoted by the algorithm than if you're just posting a direct link out to promote your blog post on another site. Twitter wants to keep you on Twitter, right? So if you post good content for Twitter, it's going to promote your posts more. But yeah, so definitely good tips there. Another tip that I would add in there is figuring, you should probably post at least once a day. I would say twice a day. Don't overdo it. You don't want to post every 5 minutes because everybody would be super irritated. But getting that regular schedule of like 1 or 2 tweets in a day, plus comments on other people's posts, and you'd be surprised at how fast you gain a relatively healthy number of followers. And it's based on your own interests as well. Like, you can go and buy 1,000 followers, but like the number of followers is irrelevant. It's the amount of engagement that you get and how invested those people are in your community, as much more important. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And speaking of community, like
there's this delay, so it's easy to talk over each other. Go on, carry on.
And speaking of Twitter, like all of these different types of social media cater to different groups, right? So like you have Instagram, which is just pictures. You have Twitter, which is text. I'm trying to like slowly create GreatFET Gadgets TikToks. So I'm working on that. And it's just like, each one caters to different groups, different people. So it's all about like which community are you trying to reach out to. Like GreatFET Gadgets doesn't use Facebook. I don't use Facebook. Nobody in the company
Crate
uses
Supply
Facebook.
Doesn't use Facebook. We don't use Facebook. It's a moral stance on behalf of Crate Supply. We don't use Facebook.
Same.
Same
here.
Yeah, we just use. I mean, we've got an Instagram. We don't really use it. We use Twitter as our main method of. Well, we also have a newsletter. So we've got a 60,000 person strong newsletter, which is absolutely super important for us in terms of reaching our community, and that's really important for us. We also have a growing Discord, and I was really interested to hear about your Discord, because Discord is something that I'm seeing more and more and more, particularly in technical circles, where you'll have it's a forum. I guess it's just a fancy forum, but you can personalize them. We've got a reasonably active one. We host an AMA on there every Wednesday. The delightful Claire manages the Discord for us. And I was curious to hear your thoughts on Discord, how you're using it, and how it's working for you.
Yeah, so Discord, I love it. When I started with it, early in the pandemic, I was like, what is this tool? I hate it. I love Slack. But now that I'm on Discord, it's basically like a fancy IRC. And I never liked IRC because the visuals just didn't work for me. It was very difficult for me to read because of my disabilities. So Discord worked a lot better because I could change things up and like put things in the channels I wanted, and like the messages were broken up better, and there were different colors for different things, and the background was nicer. It just worked for me. But things that I suggest are when a topic is talked about enough to make a new channel, make a new channel. Like you can always create or remove channels. And if you can facilitate community in new ways, like do it. Another thing I highly suggest is, if you see something cool in one Discord and it seems to be getting a lot of traction and people like it, like a specific channel, you can add that in your Discord. Like join other spaces to see how they're maintaining themselves so you can maintain yourself better. And that's also how you can learn etiquette in these places is, trying in different spaces and learning what is acceptable. And then, take those techniques to other places, because learning digital literacy is difficult.
It is difficult, and there is etiquette, and in people, that you can fall foul of, and it's difficult to learn until you're actually part of that system. All right, we've got some comments here and some good information. So, Geekmon Project says, mention the word PCB in your tweet and you gain 200 followers instantly. It's true. Many of them will then ask if you require their services. We've got some love from Axel in Amsterdam saying, "Good, leave Facebook." We couldn't agree more with you. So the lovely Timon, who is popular on Twitter, has dropped some advice saying that he got loads of engagement with around 200 followers when he started out. It just comes down to connecting with people who are interested in what you do. And I think the key word there is connecting, not just broadcasting, right? Connecting. Yeah. So I fully agree with you there. I'm following up from on this comment, another comment from Timon saying, do you engage with other people's content who do similar things to you? Don't just send things to the void and expect people to show up. Yes. Exactly, I agree. And then a little comment here saying from Shane saying, you're right, it's easier to get into Twitter if you connect with people who have the same interests. That's what it's for, in my opinion. And then I just can't get into Discord. I miss the old school IRC. Although Jeff says, that if Discord is filling the space where IRC was. And I think that's true. I mean, I think Discord came out a lot. Discord blew up really in the gaming community before it came to hardware. And I think there's a lot of pieces of functionality that are specific to that original community. But I find it very useful, to be honest. I'm not on it as much all the time. I'm definitely more of a Twitterer than a Discord person. But yeah, it's I can see how useful it is, and I belong to several.
And talking about, IRC and community, like Freenode blew up their community earlier this year. And so
what happened? Share the story. Do you know?
Well, so someone bought Freenode and was essentially like, we're doing things different. And like a bunch of people lost their channels. Freenode took them over and kicked out the maintainers. Like that was not how to handle a community. A lot of people like felt betrayed. And that's, absolutely horrible when you're trying to build a community, and that community is so entrenched. But I noticed a lot of people who are IRC diehards left IRC when Freenode blew up because, changing to Libera chat, are people going to follow? Is the same environment going to be there? Like people weren't sure. And so, we kind of lost a lot of community in that blow up. And so people switched to Discord finally because their community was already lost. And that is really what the value of community brings, is that, trust. And that's something I love about Discord is I leave my DMs open. So if anybody's having any trouble on the GSG Discord, like I usually leave my notifications on, which is probably why I don't get sleep. But I know right away as soon as something happens, and I'm there. Like if somebody feels like they're having a difficult time, if there's somebody they want to complain about, if there's something they want to do, positively, like create a new channel, create a new role, like I am always available. And because I've been available, I got a bunch of complaints, and that's how we ended up kicking out someone recently, as I got enough complaints about them that it was like, yeah, you're hurting people. But it's about building that trust, and it's about, just being a good person yourself, because like the things I do reflect on Great Scott Gadgets. And so it's really interesting how much, what you do feeds into your company, feeds into your community, and that all feeds back. Like I can't explain how much I've grown because of the amazing community we have in Discord and on Twitter.
That's really great to hear. So would you say that those are your 4 pillars then of community at Great Scott Gadgets? You've got the comms, you've got GitHub, you've got Twitter, and you've got Discord. Are those your 4 big things that you do to maintain your community, or have we missed a piece of the picture there?
The next one is definitely documentation. And that is the next big project I'm starting is, when I'm not around, I still want people to be able to find information. And our documentation, I'm really sorry to say, is very behind. It is old. It needs an overhaul. And so that's, starting next month, my new project is 100% documentation.
Wow. I have to say that is something that really sets people apart in the open source hardware world from people, like from people who are just, tinkering and making things, and, which is all lovely and wonderful, and we welcome that. But then when you take it to the next level, you start seeing people's documentation really start to level up. And that's when you start thinking, wow, these people have got it going on, like good documentation and good community building is it's impossible to overstate the importance of those things in growing a sustainable open hardware business. Anecdotally, like everybody who's successful in this genre of products is gets really good at it, or at least really cares about their documentation. Not necessarily that they have it perfectly, but they understand the importance of good documentation and the importance of good community building. So yeah.
Well, and documentation is a great place for people who are new to GitHub to start. In fact, we have moved all of our documentation away from GitHub wikis.
Okay.
And instead, we're using Sphinx docs to compile our documentation. And there's a docs folder in each of our repositories now. And that is reflected in readthedocs.io. And so the great thing about that is now people can submit pull requests, because what I found is that people were timid to contribute to wikis because there's no double checking. They didn't have the confidence to be like, I'm adding this to the wiki and it's done. But now that I have it on as a folder in our repository, anybody can do a PR to it. They can open issues on our GitHub to get us to fix it. And that's what I really want to see from our community over the next year is everything documentation, open those issues, open those PRs. I want to handle that for you. I want to make that better. I want to reduce the friction there. But that's a great way to contribute. And when companies like, have you contributed to GitHub, you can say, yes, look at all of my pull requests. And even if they're all just typos, at least you know the process of Git, you know how to work as a team. So that's something we made as a change for the community when I started, as well as I still have 2 more repositories to switch to read the docs. But otherwise, you know, we're here. We want to listen. We want to make things better.
So the big request coming out of today's session is everybody, please go and request, do some pull requests on your documentation, open issues, and get involved, get stuck in. So that's your plan for the next year or so. You're going to really get stuck into is that your like big project? That's cool.
Yeah, now that we've kind of got the GitHub up to date with the issues and the pull requests, you know, documentation is the next way I feel I can best support our community so they can also help themselves maybe reduce the number of issues we get as well, because people can just see the links. So it's kind of like feeds everything as well. And if there's good documentation, it's easier for people to contribute because they know where the gaps are. So it's one of those things that just, it's a good base to build on. So it's everything you do as, you know, community manager or trying to build a community feeds into itself. So this is one way I'm trying to serve the people, and hopefully, you know, it comes back and they help us out and back and forth.
That's really awesome. I think that's really great advice. I wanted to ask you a question, actually. So we've been talking a lot about your own approach to community building and what Great Scott Gadgets does. But I'd really like to hear, like, who do you think in our community or in the wider community of hardware or tech, who do you think is doing a really great job? Like, who do you look at and think their game is strong? You know, for me, I always look at like Adafruit and go, wow, your documentation is always hitting it out of the park. You know, like for me, like that's the gold standard. But I was wondering, like, who do you admire? Who do you look up to? Whose Discord do you look at and go, "Ooh, I want to do that"? You know.
So I kind of pull pieces from different people, right? Because I find every group has a specialty. Like you're right, Adafruit's documentation, like that's where I send people sometimes, even for our products. I'm like, have you gone to Adafruit, or have you gone to New Elect to check out their website? I love Claire's AMA in Crowd Supply.
Yes, me too. She does such a great job.
That was the best AMA I've ever been a part of, and I've done, I think, about 20 now, and I can't give Claire enough of a shout out. So
we're gonna send this to her. She'll be very happy to get that shout out. I'll make sure I timestamp the video. She's our Discord wizard, and and then she definitely deserves more props than she gets. So good job shouting at Claire's AMAs. They are great, actually, very lively. They're fantastic. Yeah.
and she does a great use of emoji to signal which answers have been addressed or questions have been addressed or not. So that's great.
Yeah.
The Mayhem Discord I recently joined, and I really appreciate that they have the Show Your Porta Pack channel, which is just show off your pictures of your hardware. I really want to take something like that and apply it to Great Scott Gadgets as well, because I love seeing our hardware out in the open. Like if anybody tweets pictures of your Great Scott Gadgets hardware, please tag me, tag Great Scott Gadgets. I want to like it.
I want to like it, then unlike it, and like it again, just so I can like it twice. You know?
Yeah, exactly. I'll probably retweet it. Like, yeah.
You know, I love seeing. Yeah, we don't get that many pictures of our gadgets out in the wild, actually, or I should say, our creators' gadgets. You know, and I always love seeing them. I always love seeing the tools in people's workbenches, or you know, in their hands being actually used. So. Yeah, I echo that. If there's anybody out there that's using things that you bought from Crowd Supply or from Great Scott Gadgets, tag us. We love it. We love to see it out there. It basically makes our day. So if you want to make us happy, send us pictures of our things in actual use.
Well,
Oh, I also got another piece of love from Geekmon Project saying +1,000 on Claire. She's a great communicator and very funny. It's true. She's also an amazing LED artist in her spare time. She makes some really, really cool things. Or like I've seen them do some like large scale winter lights. Was it winter lights? No, summer lights something project. But they did some really cool large scale LED installations. So definitely. I think she's Laser Mistress on Twitter, I think, with a Z. I think so. Anyway, yes, many major props to Claire. This has been a Claire loving session today, hasn't it? We like that. Yeah, good job. Woo! Yeah. Also, I have a question here. So, well, Brian says, first of all, I do like the transition to read the docs. It will take some time to get used to. And then Axel has asked, could you elaborate on read the docs? What's the advantage, non-doc writer here?
Yeah, so read the docs. What it does is if you have documentation written in Markdown or RST, you can have a folder of that and you can hook it into your GitHub repository, and it automatically creates a very beautifully well formatted set of documentation that's on a website, so you can just post links. Because wikis aren't great to look at. It's hard to adjust them to what you'd like to see. But Read the Docs has a really nice, beautiful format, and it's easier for people to read, I feel. I would love feedback on that, though, because I want to make sure it's accessible to our entire community. But yeah, so Read the Docs. The big thing is that, it also, because it's a folder in our repository that it's hooked into, then we can do the PR stuff, so people can get the feedback on what they're writing and then get the contribution. So it's part of like an ecosystem for writing. And the other thing too is then it's maintained in two places. So you can compile the documentation that's in the Great Scott Gadgets project repositories. You can compile that locally. So you also have the documentation, like if you're offline, you can just do like Sphinx docs HTML and it just makes it, or I think it's make HTML. But then if you're on the website, you can share links. So it gives you double access. And also, like, I like the idea of like, if an apocalypse happened, everyone has the documentation because it's right baked into the code.
That's great. Axel says, thank you for that explanation. And Timon pipes up saying, Doxy is really nice too. I prefer it a little bit over Read the Docs. I've not checked out Doxy. I might have to go and take that a look. I've also got one more comment here, harking back to the Claire Lovin from Geekmon Project, saying, yes, she does amazing lights projects and uses a lot of PixelBlaze. So maybe she'll be on when you talk about that. And this is a good point to say, well, we've actually been talking for basically an entire hour now, so it's time to wrap up. But so as Geekmon Projects mentioned, when we will be talking about PixelBlaze, which is a really awesome LED controller by the delightful Ben Hank, who will be on our Teardown Session live stream next week, next Friday. So we'll be having lots of blinking lights, shiny LEDs. We're going to be talking about LED libraries. We're going to be talking about how to control lots of flashy blinking lights and looking at some cool projects. And hopefully, yeah, maybe I'll get to see if Claire, I mean, we're not allowed to work in the same office because of this whole COVID thing. So I'm on my own in this little office at the moment. But I might see if she'd like to dial in and show off some of her pieces. Maybe I should get you on as well, Geekmon Projects. You've done some really great stuff with PixelBlaze. I remember seeing you. Was it an embroidery hoop project that you did with all these this beautiful string of LEDs? I think it might have been controlled by PixelBlaze. I remember seeing that a while ago now. But maybe we'll have a few people on to show and tell some of their best PixelBlaze projects, because it is it's a board that's very well loved in the community. That would be cool. Okay, so Straithe, is there anything else that you would like to leave us with? Any requests, any shout outs, any promotional things, any, anything? Is there anything you'd like to tell to our lovely audience, both now, the people who are with us now, but also several hundred people will watch this afterwards? Well, probably. I can't tell the future, but that's not what normally happens. So if you've got any requests, please pipe up now. So.
Yeah. So first thing is like, thank you for being part of the community, and even to the people who are part of the community who showed up to this. It's really, I'm very thankful for it. But if you have any questions about the Great Scott Gadgets community, like, do talk to me on Twitter, do talk to me on Discord. Like I said, throughout this whole thing, I'm always available. I love feedback, and I want to make things just constantly better for everyone. So don't hesitate. I'm super friendly, I think. So please reach out.
That's lovely. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us this week, Straithe. It's been great. We've actually not done a session where we talk about community building before, and I think it's a really interesting topic of conversation that a lot of people can learn from. So I think this is going to be a popular stream once we trim it and send it out as a video as well. So thank you for sharing all of your knowledge with us. It's been an absolute delight to have you on and to talk about the importance of building community in hardware and some practical ways of doing that as well. For those of you that are watching after the stream, I'll make sure that in the description that we put all sorts of delicious links down there, so links to all the different things that we talked about. And we'll also put up timestamps as well, so you can skip between sections once we get that done early next week. But please do join us again next week for PixelBlaze. This has been what's happening to my voice today? I don't know. I've been stumbling all over my words. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a goodbye from Axel. We got thank you both from Geek One Projects, and Shane saying thanks for what you do at Great Scott Gadgets. We believe Great Scott Gadgets is fantastic, and Crowd Supply. Yeah, that's fine. We know that Great Scott Gadgets is the star of the show today. That's fine. We're just happy to host you. So please do join us next week, and don't forget to sign up to the newsletter, and also please don't forget to like and subscribe. These are a weekly live stream now, so you've got lots of exciting goodies coming up for you in the next few weeks. After PixelBlaze, we've got a stream coming up with Benny Huang and Zobs at some point. We've got a stream coming up with Darian, who's doing Mute. We've got one from, we're going to do a workshop tour of Cyber City Circuits, who are a really awesome fabrication lab down in, I believe they're in Georgia, I think. Anyway, we're going to be joining them live and watching them do some actual PCB assembly on one of our live streams soon. So please do like and subscribe to join us for later. And we'll speak to you again soon. Thank you so much for joining us. That's our time. Bye now. Bye.